Tiger Woods, who has been injured in a serious car accident in Palos Verdes, California, just outside Los Angeles. Woods has been hospitalized, reportedly with multiple leg injuries, and is undergoing surgery.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. Catch out. Possible double eagle. Oh!
That was unbelievable.
Well, I never thought I'd see him play the type of golf that he played yesterday again going forward. I mean, given the fragility of his body.
Don't call it a comeback.
The Tiger Woods comeback is still rolling.
I heard about that. Yeah, possibly the greatest golfer of all time had his best round since 2020 in his PGA Tour comeback last weekend. We'll dive deep with someone who's covered him closely his entire career.
And this dude, man, his name is Mac McClung. He had brought back the slam dunk contest. From Wondery, I'm Shek and Shazier.
I'm Dave Damashek.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
All right, Shek, let's get into this Tiger Woods comeback.
Your wish is my command, 5-0. It actually starts back on February 23rd, 2021, 2 years ago to the day when the golf world woke up to this news.
Tiger Woods was involved in a major accident this morning in L.A. County. The vehicle he was driving going off the highway and rolling over several times. And we have just learned from authorities moments ago that he had serious injuries to both legs.
Woods was rushed to the hospital with multiple leg injuries, and for a time, it wasn't clear whether he'd ever be able to golf again, let alone walk. Shazier, what went through your mind when you heard the news of Tiger's accident?
Man, the first thing I thought of was just, is he going to be okay? And whenever anybody getting in any car accidents, I think of spinal cord injuries immediately. So I just was hoping the best for him.
Tiger's road to recovery has been a long one. He tried comebacks at 3 majors since the injuries, and fans went wild every time, but his body and game weren't quite ready. This weekend at the Genesis Invitational at Riviera in L.A., though, Tiger showed some flashes of his old self, including his best round since 2020.
Honestly, I didn't think I would ever see him playing this caliber of golf again. Might have got my hopes up a little bit last year after the first round of the Masters, but this is 3 days in a row now where he's moved wonderfully.
But after giving the fans a few classic moments, Tiger struggled to finish 45th overall. Now here to check in on the state of Tiger's restarted comeback journey, we've got a 13-time Emmy winner who's covered more than 75 major golf championships in his career, including many of the biggest in Tiger's career. It's Jimmy Roberts. Welcome to Don't Call It a Comeback.
What's up, guys? How are you? Good to be with you.
How you doing, Jimmy? Let's go back 2 years when Tiger had his accident and the injuries. How was he able to manage himself to get back to this point?
Well, Ryan, you understand what it's like to be injured and to try and have to work hard. I have been covering sports for a long time, and I don't know that I have ever come across a more determined athlete than Tiger Woods. I remember years and years ago, I remember one time in Columbus, Ohio, place you're familiar with. We were there for the memorial, and for some reason I couldn't sleep. I went to the gym. It must have been 4 o'clock in the morning, and Tiger was there, and he was just coming out of the gym. I mean, this is a guy who, what he came back from, some people have said that they think it may be the greatest comeback of all time. It's been compared in golf circles to what happened to Ben Hogan when he had a head-on collision with a bus and almost died and then came back to win several major championships. But, what Tiger has come back from is remarkable. And to see him this past weekend at Riviera, and, I know he wasn't happy with it because for him, to quote him famously, second sucks. And, he was, 45th? But I think he showed real progress. He's just the most, I'm getting off on a tangent here. He's just the most determined athlete I have ever seen in my life.
As far as that goes, you've been around him quite a bit. This isn't his first comeback, of course, but, 30,000-foot view. You've seen it with heavyweight boxers. Now in the 21st century, we see it with high-end quarterbacks in pro football. Why Tiger Woods? What does he have left to accomplish in his own mind and heart? Why does he press on, given the injuries and all the success that he's already had in, at the highest level?
Well, look, superficially, I think there are two things, I guess, that he'd like to accomplish. One of them is very close, and the other one is kind of remote. So he currently has 82 PGA Tour wins. He is tied with Sam Snead for the most in PGA Tour history. So the next time he wins, if he should win, he'll own that record all by himself. That's a significant record in the game of golf. The other thing is he has 15 major championships. Jack Nicklaus has 18 major championships. And the discussion always seems to be who's the GOAT in golf. And it always comes down to, or mostly comes down to, is it Jack Nicklaus or is it Tiger Woods? I think that the people who think it's Jack would tell you that Jack's the greatest player of all time because he's won the most championships or tournaments that matter most, the majors. And there are famous stories of how when Tiger was growing up, he had a list on his wall next to his bed of Jack's accomplishments. That was his target. Now, put all that aside, all right? The answer is he's got nothing left to prove to anybody. I mean, he's had a remarkable career. Just winning on the PGA Tour is a really, really hard thing to do. I mean, this guy's list of accomplishments, I think the most remarkable accomplishment of his career is that he won 142 consecutive tournaments. I think that's 6 or 7 years. I think it's 6 years without missing the cut. That's incomprehensible. What that means is that, so golf, for those of your viewers who aren't terribly familiar with golf at the championship level, it's 4 rounds, or at least it is on the PGA Tour, but that's a whole other discussion. And you play the first 2 rounds, and then the low 60, 65, or 70 players then make it through to the weekend. And if you aren't one of those low 60, 65, or 70 players, then you're in your car and you're gone. Tiger once went 6-7 years. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting exactly the number, but I do know it's 142 straight tournaments without missing a cut. That's, as I said, that's incomprehensible. I mean, that's, think about it. So he went 6 or 7 years without, having a cold. I mean, we all wake up and have a bad day. This guy could have woke up and had a bad day. And to your point earlier, Ryan, about, his level of determination, he battled through all of this. And I just find who he is and what he's accomplished to be remarkable. I personally have had my ups and downs with him, but I'll say this. I'm really, really fortunate to have lived in a time where I could watch this guy compete.
It's crazy to me, just Tiger Woods and how he was so polarizing to the game of golf. For African American males like myself, but just to people that just love the game of golf. And I think a good way that people can learn very quickly about the game of golf is the show Full Swing. I don't know if you watched it yet, but it does a good representation of just kind of breaking down like golf really fast. So I've been able to watch it, and just the significance of, like, if you don't make the cut, you don't get paid. So it's crazy to me. So beyond the sponsor obligations, like, do you think is the significance of the Genesis Invitational in LA for Tiger?
Well, first of all, it's one of the oldest and most highly respected tournaments on the PGA Tour. Takes place at Riviera, which was known as Hogan's Alley because of the success that he had there. He won a U.S. Open there. He won the L.A. Open there. But it's also it's now Tiger's tournament, because just like the Memorial is Jack's tournament, Jack Nicklaus's tournament, in Columbus, and Bay Hill was Arnold Palmer's tournament, and still his foundation still runs that tournament in Orlando. Tiger's foundation is the beneficiary or the sponsor, I'm not really sure what the correct characterization would be, of the LA Open, which is now the Genesis, and it benefits the Tiger Woods Foundation, which has done remarkable work for an underserved population of people who wouldn't have access to educational opportunities. If you watched the tournament at all, you saw the great video of the Tiger Woods Learning Center. And he's really, really done remarkable work there. So I think it has great significance. And look, anything that Tiger is attached to is going to immediately attract a lot of interest and a lot of eyeballs. So I think it's a great thing.
You maybe answered this a couple of minutes ago, but I'm curious, is winning then majors, winning period is great. Winning majors is the ultimate goal, because I'm kind of reading him from a distance, and I feel like he's in this existential appreciation mode, which is, I'm glad to be out there 2 years removed from being told, I mean, competitive golf isn't a reasonable goal at this point, given the injury you've had and your age. So he's reasonably considering how many majors he might be able to add to his resume going forward now?
I think that would be the goal. I mean, is it realistic? I mean, just think about it. Only one man older than he is. If I got this right, man, I should have studied up on my facts before I came to talk to you guys. So Phil Mickelson won the PGA Championship 2 years ago at age 50. He's the oldest to have ever won a major. I think Julius Burrows did he win a PGA at 48? You know, Hale Irwin, Jack Nicklaus won.
I remember Raymond Floyd at 47 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very rare. I'm supposed to know this stuff. That's why you guys brought me on. Sorry about that. You know, it's just very rare for somebody of that age to win. Tom Watson almost won the British Open several years back, and he would have been older than that. He was well into his 50s. It just doesn't happen. You know, and then you mix in, you know, all the injuries that Tiger's had. I mean, I tried this morning. I went and took a look. I wasn't really sure. So I think we're up to 5 back surgeries and 5 knee surgeries. And that's, you know, excluding all the work that needed to be done after he had the accident. I mean, but to answer your question, I don't think that Tiger, he's not a ceremonial golfer. And he said it himself earlier in the week last week. That's just not who he is. He's out there to play, and he's out there to win. And I think he'll stick around and play as long as he thinks he has an opportunity to do it. And I'll say this. He looked at times really good this week. I mean, I know he only finished 1 under for the week, but he did shoot rounds of 67 and 69 to go along with rounds of 73 and 74. So there were flashes. I mean, he's hitting the ball. Hits the ball still so far that Rory McIlroy, with whom he played alongside Justin Thomas on Thursday and Friday, they were so humbled by how far Tiger was hitting the ball that Rory, who's one of the longest hitters in the game, actually went and changed his driver because he needed to pick up, you know, more distance. Tiger can still bring it. Physically, he's very talented. He has tremendous challenges. I think rust is one of them. But, I mean, this is a very, very tall order, you know, as to what lies ahead of him in terms of what he can accomplish. I think he's happy to be out there, but I do not think he's all about thinking, oh, it's great to be out here. He's only out there because he thinks he can win.
You win. So Jimmy, I have a question for you, and I'm a fan of Tiger and definitely the game of golf, but how much longer do you think that Tiger has to continue to play, and what are the realistic chances of him winning another major amongst guys like Colin, guys like Scotty, guys like Justin Thomas? You know, just all these really good players out here right now. What are the odds you think of him playing? How much longer and winning another major?
You know, one of the things they say is don't ever try and count Tiger out, because every time people try and count him out, he comes back and figures some way to prove people wrong. I mean, physically, like I said, he's in extraordinary shape, and he lives it. I mean, it is every part of his day. You know, they say a tiger doesn't change its stripes. I'm guessing he still works out like a madman every day. And so he's exclusive of the injuries that he's had to deal with. I think he looks to be in great shape. We always used to joke that he looked like a strong safety, or a linebacker, because he's just cut. And, he's totally committed to, his physical presence, and other parts of his game too. But I'm kind of dancing around the question, because if you ask 10 people, you might get 10 different opinions. Do I think he's going to win 3 more major championships to tie Jack Nicklaus, or 4 more to pass him? I don't. Do I think that he's going to win 1 more PGA Tour event to own that record by himself? I think it could happen. I mean, I think what he showed us this week, if you had asked me that a year ago, I would have said, I just don't see it. And, oddly enough, I think the biggest challenge for him isn't the golf, it's the walking and the recovery. And he said that. You see it late in the rounds when he seems to be really hobbling, and really his right ankle is the thing that he's, struggling with. And listen, it's really remarkable what he's able to do. In golf, one of the core principles is that you generate speed from the ground. So if you want to hit the ball a long, long way, you do so by pushing off of your legs. Well, Tiger can't do that. So he's had to come up with a different way to generate power, more upper body, more rotation. He was still driving it past a lot of the young guys. And, and as I said, driving it past Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas at times. So it's really it's hard to figure this guy out, because I just don't think we've seen a cat like this before. And that gets back to why I feel like, as somebody who does what I do for a living, I'm really lucky. I'm lucky to have watched Michael Jordan play. I'm lucky to have watched Roger Federer play, and Tom Brady, Serena Williams, all these remarkable athletes. He's in that discussion, and it's hard to figure him out, because every time we try to do so, some of us end up being wrong.
Last question for me about, as you try to, regard the 25 years or 30 years of Tiger Woods, then why wasn't his career, why wasn't his profile sort of scuttled irreparably by his scandal? Why has he come through clean, it feels like, largely in terms of the fans he has universally and otherwise? And to sort of bridge that into the next generation, what role has his son Charlie played in how we perceive him, and, as a father, and bringing along his own son, like we watched his father bring Tiger along when he was a young guy?
Well, the second question's easier than the first. The first question is, the very first 2 words I would say are Bill and Clinton. We love to knock people down, but nothing's better than a comeback story. And so I think that we are willing to forgive. As vicious as we can be, we're willing to forgive. But I think also, we've never seen anybody like Tiger before. First of all, the level of success that he had, I mean, we're talking about a guy who's one of the, 2, maybe 3 greatest players of all time. People do like to see those types of presences out there. Muhammad Ali was polarizing. I can think of a million examples of successful athletes who were polarizing. But I think that Ryan mentioned it, or kind of touched on it before. What Tiger represented was entree to a game for an entirely new population. I can't tell you, I in my mind, when I think back on all of the Tiger stories and all of the things that I remember and witnessing from his journey, one of the most vivid for me and powerful was in 1997, Sunday morning, and he had this enormous lead, was about to go out and win his first major championship, the Masters. And he was on the first tee, and out from the clubhouse, which is right next to the first tee, a number of men who worked at the club, older African-American men, had come out to witness Tiger teeing off. And it was very, very powerful to me because, and it's a well-known story, I'd never seen this before. These are folks that we knew and would come into contact with while we were there. But this was so meaningful to a certain segment of the population that it was really something that got a lot of people's attention. These folks wanted to be there because they wanted to witness what was about to happen because they were proud of it. And I remember thinking to myself, this is going to be very, very meaningful for a lot of people who never had access to the game, who never felt like they were included in the game. And it proved to be absolutely the case. So there's that. And I think that people, as much as people didn't want him to succeed, I think that there were a lot of people who wanted him to succeed. So he was an interesting figure. Second part of your question. I think there's nothing, it can't be much harder than to be the child of a great athlete who pursues the same line of work, or really the son or daughter of anybody who's accomplished who goes into the same line of work. We did a piece on, we were having this discussion on Golf Channel a few weeks back after Charlie Woods played with Tiger in the PNC Father-Son Challenge. And the discussion was, how good is he? How good can he be? And talk immediately went to Jack Nicklaus's son, Gary, who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated with this was, I don't know how old Gary was. I think he must have been 18 or 19 years old. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Hadn't really accomplished very much, but he was attempting to play competitive golf. And the cut line said, the next Nicklaus. That's a pretty high bar. And so I don't know what's going to be for Charlie, but I can tell you this. He's a talented young man, and this is from people who I know who know a lot more about golf than I do. He's very, very talented, but he's incredibly young. Who knows what's going to happen with him? We'll see. He's going to be an interesting figure to watch. I hope that answers your question. It probably didn't.
It does, in the sense that, as I say, I feel like there's a softening sort of perception of Tiger Woods, and I'm just curious how big a role Charlie has had in helping that along, and now it connects 3 generations, as I say, back to Tiger's father, and that storyline now continues forward for another generation.
If I can, and we just have another minute, just let me say this: I don't know anybody who's a parent who hasn't been changed by the experience. I certainly was. And I think Tiger has been. And I think Tiger would tell you that he has been. And if you see him around his kids, he's just like all the rest of us. He's a parent. He's proud. He's humbled by that aspect of it. And so I do think that Charlie, his children, Charlie and Sam, have gone a great way to helping him kind of change. But look, he's 47 years old now. He's been in the public eye since he was a little kid. I don't know how I would have handled that. So
fascinating stuff from a guy who's been up close with Tiger for pretty much the entire Tiger Woods professional experience. We appreciate the time, Jimmy Roberts.
My pleasure. Good to be with you guys.
Thanks again to Jimmy for joining us today. You can hear more from Jimmy Roberts on the Golf Channel, and look for his new book, co-written with NHL legend Mark Messier, titled No One Wins Alone. And you need to stay tuned for the Checkdown, where Shazier is going to give out some early tips for filling out your bracket. Ooh, la.
Don't call it a comeback.
All right, Shazier, time now for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. It is the Checkdown. You mentioned it at the top there. Mac McClung won the most exciting dunk contest in recent memory, becoming the first G-Leaguer ever to win the event. Shazier, did Mac McClung do more to kickstart his career comeback, or the comeback of the dunk contest?
I'm going to be honest. I think he did more when it comes to the dunk contest, because it was really exciting. There were some really good dunks, and pretty much every dunk he did it on the first try. He was very creative. And the one thing I know a lot of people are going to want to see him again next year. So I think that he did a great job. He said if they give him another chance, he would do it again. And, some of the bigger name guys, they keep asking him to dunk. And Ja said that he needed 1 billion likes. I don't know what he needed 1 billion likes on, but he said he needed 1 billion likes to be in the dunk contest. And Zion Williamson said that he actually possibly might be in it as well. So, to me, I think if we get some of the best players and then have guys that are high flyers like Mac, I think that's going to make it a very fun and exciting thing to watch, because normally the last few years it hasn't been that exciting to watch, and most people have been tuning out.
Yeah, I hate to be a cynic about it. It's a weird, fringy kind of skill. Spud Webb comes to mind. It's not as though Spud Webb was a great NBA basketball player because he won the dunk contest. I think that's the category you'd put McClung into at this point. I'll say this. I'm pretty sure the Pelicans will get in the way of Zion ever competing in that. He barely can make it onto the floor for about a third of the team's games. I don't think they're going to smile on him participating in the dunk contest, but there's that cynicism I mentioned already. Another comeback from the NBA All-Star Weekend. Jose Alvarado was named the MVP of the Rising Stars tourney, a game featuring the very best young talent in the league. Shazier, should the NFL add a best young players contest to their Pro Bowl events lineup?
Man, that's something I actually been thinking about. I think that would be really cool if they did the best of the young players type of contest. But then you have to think about what kind of contest it's going to be, because the Pro Bowl is not just the best players, it's the best young rising players, and then it's also the current best players. So some of the best young rising players aren't the best players at the time, but they get invited to the Pro Bowl. So I think it would be really cool if they did do something for just the young guys to see who's rising. But the Pro Bowl in football, I don't think it correlates as well to actual how you're playing as basketball does with skill challenges and then, the Rising Stars tournaments. I don't think you could do like a 7-on-7 or something where it's the first year guys versus second year guys, because some guys thrive in 7-on-7 situations while other guys wouldn't. So I think it would be cool if they brought something to the table, but I just don't know what they'll be able to do.
Come on. First of all, the Pro Bowl in the NFL should be replaced by my long-standing idea for the Loser Bowl. The two worst teams should play each other for the first overall pick. Winner gets it. That's football's fix. The All-Star fix for the NBA, a one-on-one tournament, Shazier. Who would watch? Every self-proclaimed basketball fan. That's who. This jive of no defense, of the 5-on-5 and the pickup game aspect of it. It's cute stuff while they're drafting. Who cares once the game actually tips off? Who would care about a one-on-one tournament? LeBron v. Giannis v. Embiid, and on down the line. Now that would be juicy stuff. The defending champ Kansas Jayhawks pulled off a second-half comeback after trailing by 17 at one point against number 9 Baylor this weekend. Shazier, March Madness is just weeks away. Do all NFL teams fill out the brackets and run pools like the rest of society does?
I don't think a lot of NFL teams really fill out brackets. I think it's two reasons. So one reason is by the time that March Madness comes, most guys aren't even near the facility. Some guys might be even a whole different country at that time of the year. And then secondly, I just know when I was playing for the Steelers, we didn't do that. I would do it with my friends, and some of my friends, they might have like a work pool or something, and they'd be like, "Hey Ryan, if you want to jump in," and I'll just use like a random name, like But we didn't really do it at the Steelers. I would do it with other people, but we didn't really do it with the Steelers. And then I actually did it with like my financial advisor before. I would do it with more people that was kind of in my inner circle than I would actually do it with, the team.
Well, we do a podcast. I don't know if I would go so far as to describe myself as your friend. If you want to call me that, so be it. But I would like to think I'm in your professional inner circle. Here we are, kibitzing. Let's do a pool, is what I'm saying there, Shazier.
We just gotta get everybody else on. We just can't have people jump in the bandwagon and changing their bracket up at the end like they do their football teams.
I know you're loyal enough that you're talk about slugging something in. You're going to put Ohio State all the way to the Final Four there, and that will give the rest of us a nice edge there this year. I don't think the Buckeyes are going too deep into the tournament. They may not even make the line this year. Chiefs OC Eric Bienemy is no longer the Chiefs OC because Bienemy is taking the same role with the Washington Commanders next season. It's kind of a weird lateral move for a guy many think should be a head coach by now in the NFL. Is hiring Bienemy the first step towards making that not just his next step, but a comeback for the Commanders on the NFL stage?
So I think somebody named Hank will agree with me what I'm about to say, and everybody that's listened to the podcast, you guys don't know who Hank is, but he's a very cool and important guy. I don't think that it's going to help DC take the next step, but I think it's going to help Eric Bienemy. I think Eric Bienemy, he's going to be able to show that he has some creative offense, that he can still do creative play calls, but I just don't think that it's going to be what the Commanders need. I think Commanders just kind of need a whole rebuild type of situation because they're good, but I don't think they're good enough to just win a championship. They need a legit quarterback, and when you're OC, it's really hard when you don't have a guy at quarterback, and he had Patrick Mahomes the last few years. He had the last 5 years. So I think it's gonna really help him out and just show people that a lot of play calls he have, the decisions he make were some of the decisions that he made on his own, but he was with Andy Reid, so it's gonna help him out. But I don't think it's gonna take the Commanders to win any championships within the next 2 or 3 years.
Interesting. So you think it helps Bienemy, but if it is helping Bienemy, then surely that means the commies are succeeding on the field. My concern, if I were a Commanders fan, is would I want the rental of Bienemy? Because clearly he is auditioning for a head coaching gig. So in success in 2023, it will be a one-year audition, and then he'll get hired away to somewhere else, unless we know something behind the scenes with Ron Rivera moving aside in favor of Bienemy. If that's some sort of a plan, which I highly doubt exists, that's why I've said to a lot of people, for your favorite team, Shazier, the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people thought Bienemy would be a great fit as a one-year rental there, but that stunts the growth of your now sophomore QB. Same goes for Sam Howell. It's a weird thing for the franchise, in my book, more than it is for the individual Eric Bienemy, who it would seem, based on the results that he's gotten, has deserved a head coaching job. So that's a murky situation there where he's concerned, as well as it is for the football team that just hired him. Hey, Fast and the Furious is coming back with their 10th installment in the series. Fast X coming out in May. Shazier, what's your favorite action movie franchise?
I'll be completely honest. I love Fast and Furious. I love Fast, it's Fast X now or whatever it's called. I love all those movies. When I first started watching those, I never thought it was going to turn into a action movie, like an action series. I thought it was going to be more like, racing cars. It turned into more of a like full-on action movie, guys holding helicopters with their bare arms type of thing, which is, but it's not even close for me. It's Marvel's. Marvel is the biggest, action movie, comic universe. And people might say, oh, you can't say Marvel. Well, I would go with the Avengers. The Avengers had multiple movies, and I can say that's a series of movies that you can go all the way from the beginning all the way to Infinity War. Those are some of my favorite movies to this day. And to me, I still think are some of the best movies of all time.
I think you're right. I think a little bit, though, like the Rolling Stones, they may have hung around a little bit too long. The Eternals, Ant-Man 3, I haven't even seen it, but the reviews are pretty bad for it. Maybe they've just, like I say, like Jagger and company, hung around a tick too long.
I'm gonna have to cut you off on that one. So the thing is with it is, I know you don't watch the TV, you don't watch the shows as well. So basically, the universe is actually changing the story. So they still have stuff going on, and in the comics, what happened to Thanos actually happened. So what's happening now is actually what happened in the comics as well. So they're transitioning. So it's actually something else is happening. It's not the Avengers anymore. Other stuff is happening now. That's another part of the story. But you're not a Marvel guy, so
that's
you wouldn't
not
understand.
true at all. That's not true at all, 5-0. I absolutely have consumed all the stuff from Marvel. And by the way, The Flash with the old Batman coming back, that looks pretty good too. The correct answer in Dave Damashek's book, Dr. Jones, Indiana Jones. I don't care what happens after The Last Crusade. I'm going to talk about hanging around too long. That's what Dr. Jones has done. But those first 3 pictures, solid gold in my book. Go back and watch those. History lesson for you.
All those came out, I think, before I was born. So I would that just let you know how old you are. So, all right, we can get back to it.
I mean, I guess we can. Doesn't mean they don't hold up there, Shazier. They're still pretty good. Dr. Jones with that whip and the hat. Nothing cooler than that guy. All right, that's it for this episode of Don't Call It a Comeback.
Hey, make sure to follow, rate, and review the show on wherever you're listening. Check us out on YouTube, on the Wondery channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you all next week.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.